Hello and welcome to episode 13. Unlucky for some, hope it's not unlucky for us, of this Let's Play Factorio space exploration series. In the last episode, we built a whole load of science up here on the platform, and then we went to Revos, which is our planet, which is making the Holmanite. And then we went to Novice and we processed that Holmanite, and then we came back up here again and we made some more science. But we didn't quite finish all of the science. Or at least not the bits of the parts that I wanted to finish at that moment in time. Because I wanted to get all of the energy science done. But we can't do that just yet because we need to up our energy production, our power. We need some much more improved solar panels. And as well, we need some spaceship parts. All of the nice goodies that the stuff that the toys that I've spent this time earning by constructing all of this science. I've got all that nice stuff to build. So that's what we're going to do just to start with. And then we're going to come back and, well, not necessarily come back because we're still in orbit, but come back over here to the science, finish this off, and then we're going to deal with Vitamelange. And I have not looked at Vitamelange. I've started the process. I've got it here. I've worked out that we need something called Vitamelange extract. We need bio scrubber, we need reagent, and we need, oh no, that's just some ore. What's this? Epoxy. We need those four things as a minimum. I don't know, there might be some other things, and as you can see, I haven't really expanded on the science. This is as far as I've got. But this is the big thing, the next big thing that we need to work towards. So let's get those other things out of the way and let's move our way towards this one.
Here we go.
So, a little bit unexpected, I suppose, from your perspective, that I'm here. But, you know, things have happened and I need more beryllium, so this kind of became more of a priority. Now, up until that point, up until the point where I decided to come here and build this base, my plan was to build some, what is it, the solar flare, the glaze, the thing that I can use power to kill biters with. That was what I was concentrating on doing. So I was building up stores of solar panels and scaffolds so that I could do those things. I need a lot of both of those things in order to have enough of this glazing potential. And you know, my new shopping mall in orbit also kind of contributed to this problem. Because that all needed a whole load of low density structure, and that's really where this issue comes down to, because I'm using the more efficient recipe for low density structure, the one that uses the green things. I'm not going to say what comes to mind because it's quite rude. The aeroframe scaffold. I'm using the low density structure recipe that uses this thing, and this needs beryllium. And up until I built that shopping mall, and up until I was kind of withdrawing a whole lot of scaffold and solar panels out of the system in order to build this new glazing stuff, I wasn't producing very much beryllium, but I was producing enough to meet the needs of the factory. But now, once I built that thing and once I start, all that processing, low density structure became really, really critical, and the amount of beryllium production I had was not enough. Where this is all coming from is Maliga, because I've got biters that are just periodically just eating my wall away. And I don't like this. I need some peace and quiet. Honestly, building this whole platform up here in K2SE orbit, which is where I am now, K2SE asteroid belt. Sorry. These alarms for this a novice as well. It's just driving me insane. And this is kind of where I was. This is why I was kind of working my way. Let's get the proper naming right. This is why I was working my way towards. Where are you? Here we are. The energy beams, the energy beam emitter. This is what because I wanted some peace and quiet. These things are just ruining my. Anyway, so we are. I need more beryllium. So I've come to K2SE to make that beryllium, and this is what I've built. So we're making ingots here. So that means we need all of the things that we need to make ingots. So I'm going to work my way from here. We've got iron plate, because we need iron plate, for sulfuric acid, because we need sulfuric acid to crush the ore. One of the stages we need sulfuric acid. Then we have pyroflux. Then we have sand. Now this whole process makes a net sand gain. So at some point in time, this sand is going to have to be extracted from the system and sent somewhere because we're creating too much of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it into glass and then put that on a rocket and send it to novice orbit to a dedicated landing pad, which is going to be a glass XS landing pad, just purely coming from here, and that will have priority over all of the other glass that's coming from novice. So hopefully that should be a way of losing that. That's how I'm going to deal with it up to until I have a certain amount of glass excess and I have to put it somewhere. I don't really know. That it should work. I'm confident it should work. Then we've got kind of these two blocks which are dealing with the beryllium ore. These are two basically identical things. The ore comes in one end and the iron ingots come out the other. Really cool, good stuff. Now, ore requirements, quite severe. I've gone well over the top, to be honest. I think each one of these blocks needs 240 ore per second, and obviously you can see we're not delivering enough ore to be able to meet that satisfaction. I don't mind that. As if we're absorbing every piece of ore that we have, then that's all good for me. The only thing we're using is power, and we got free power because of solar panels. So I don't mind that. It means I can potentially add more beryllium if I need to. I mean, I'm going to have to. There's not a lot of beryllium patches left. Like I've got two little ones here which I could bring online, which I was thinking of doing anyway, but this one down here is just so big, I figured that would be enough for the time being. That's going to feed two of the trains. And then we've got another one over here. I haven't got any other beryllium down here other than the really tiny. Well, these are actually a bit more significant. Anyway, that's what it is. That's what we've got. Down here, now, because we're processing all of this stuff, we need some certain ingredients that we can't make up here. Quite a few of them, to be honest. Cryonite rods, sulfur for the sulfuric acid, vulcanite blocks for the pyroflux. We obviously need some missile defense to, protect us from some missiles. Segments so we can build some rockets, fuel so we can fuel some rockets, and ice so we got some water. It's actually not a lot of things until you lay it down. And then we have 3 silos. So one to deal with the Beryl ingots themselves, one to deal with the glass excess, and one if we just happen to have too many rocket segments up here and we need to get rid of them somehow. Because that happened in orbit and it was annoying, so now I've got a whole system to deal with it. These rockets are really important. It's important that they launch. And I had some rockets that weren't launching because they were all or they weren't landing because they weren't. Anyway, so I've got that. Anyway, that's what I've got up here, and that's this little base. Pretty happy with it, to be honest. It's doing its job really, really well. I did a couple of rough back of the fag packet calcs. So the first one would be, it's going to take about 3.5 hours to fill a rocket with beryllium ingots, which is actually quite a long time, but probably a lot less than where I'm making at the moment. And the second one calculation I did was how long the beryllium I have is going to last, and it looks like I should have about the production that I'm getting at the moment for a good 50 or 60 hours, I reckon, and then maybe another 150 hours of slowly declining production, and then tailing off at the end. So I've maybe got 150 hours of grace by building this thing here, and that's assuming that where we need beryllium ingots permanently, it's entirely possible that this will fix the beryllium ingot problem, and this will cease producing ingots because I've already got enough of them. In which case, the beryllium that I've got set up will obviously last a heck of a lot longer. Now, in terms of next things, I think the next thing is going to be Vitamelange. That's got to be the next thing. Oh no, well, maybe no. Let's go back to the next thing that I missed out. Next thing is to build some solar emitter beam thingamybobs, so I can give myself some grace. That's not going to be in any of the time lapse. I think I'm just going to do that in a corner in orbit, and then I'm going to get to Vitamelange. It's like a guillotine hanging over my head, and it has been for quite some time, and I'm quite keen to get on with that. I still haven't looked at it properly, but it's on my mind to get it done. In other news, just for one final piece of news, I'm thinking I'm enjoying the spaceship experience. Now, I had a moment. I had a big moment where I thought I wasn't going to be able to use these spaceships, because when I went down here and I clicked on, where was it I was aiming? I think I was doing it the other way, but it's probably going to be the same going the other way. Novice orbit. It tells me it needs 4 minutes. Well, before I'd launched the spaceship for the first time, it told me it was going to take like 4 hours to get from here to novice orbit. Obviously, it's actually recognised that this spaceship has a certain amount of speed now, so it's given me a proper time. But for a good half hour, I was kind of losing my mind a little bit while I was trying to juggle with the idea of these things taking 4 hours to get from A to B. It was not a nice moment. But anyway, spaceship-wise, I want another one. I want to make another one of these. These things are cool. And I think I want one that goes a little bit faster. This one's quite slow because obviously it's going to go with 4 engines. And I'm probably going to upgrade to the ion engines. Let's give that a crack. And I think I'm going to I found myself with this kind of insect analogy, and I quite like it, So I'm going to follow it. I've had some really cool ideas of how I'm going to progress this kind of insect analogy of building spaceships with. I think it's really just a nice thing. It takes me back to Starfield. I know it's a terrible game, and a lot, Anyway, I got really into the spaceship building in that game for quite some time. And the analogies, I followed a similar approach. It wasn't an insect analogy, but it was another kind of analogy. When I'm doing these sorts of designs, these kind of things, they kind of lead my way. And I thought, these insects... Anyway, I'm rambling. Let's get on with the next thing. Right, so we are just waiting for a shipment of vulcanite before we can really progress this. And that's kind of leads me on a bit of a segue onto some grumbles that I have. So I'm going to come back to that issue in a moment because I've got two specific grumbles. That's related to the second grumble. The first grumble that I have. Now, I just want to be clear. My experiences with SpaceX and Factorio has been excellent. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And it's challenged me in a lot of different occasions along the way. Like, there's been a lot of critical points. Like, there's not been one thing that I've needed to get right. There's been several things along this journey. And I can appreciate that getting that sort of balance right is difficult. And I just want to preface that because, you know, I admire what's been put together here with these mods. But I do have two grumbles. And the first grumble is to do with spaceships. Now, I've got my spaceship on this planet. It's all the way over here because this is where I originally landed. This is where I originally set up my little... This is another set of solar panels. This is where I originally set up my little base to protect myself. And this ship is now stranded here because it hasn't got enough rocket fuel to launch from this planet. And it kind of makes me feel a little bit hollow because these things are excellent. I really enjoy the spaceship experience. Like, this is the first version. I've got the second version, which is still on the platform. It's kind of waiting for a moment where I can narratively transition from one to the other. I haven't quite got there, and I need to get some rocket fuel over here, and I can't move it until I get to that point. So I need to get some rocket fuel on a conveyor belt, move it over here, make it into... And really, these rocket ships should be the gateway to exploring the galaxy, all of my factories. I don't understand why it's so expensive to move these things. And my grumble, it comes back to the fact that all else being said, we've got one of these things. And one of these things will get me back to novice, and it will not use any fuel doing so. Yes, it's going to compromise the capsule, but we can fix it up. I've got an assembly machine that does that job. Like, and yes, okay, we've got a limited inventory that we can take with us, but, you know, this is my inventory that I take with me to all my planets. This is what I land with, and then I use the inventory that's on the planet, and then before I leave, I put all the inventory back in the boxes that I have, and then I go to another planet. So this is all I really need to take with me. Like, so I feel like these spaceships, which are excellent, and I love, and I wanted to do more of, I can't really feel like I can get the best out of them because... You know, at the end of the day, it exists in a world where we have space capsules. And the space capsule, you know, just from a fuel perspective, it can get me to novice without using any fuel whatsoever. And then I think it takes me 85,000 fuel to get back again. I'm pretty sure that's more fuel than than it takes to just launch that damn spaceship that I've got over there, the Stranded. Just makes me feel a little bit hollow. Now, obviously, in the fullness of time, at this moment in time, I don't really have much rocket fuel. I've probably got some, but not enough to really get going with. You know, I need everything to be working in harmony to a certain extent. But once I've got some rocket fuel and I've got a dedicated space to refuel these things, I can understand that, you know, it's a cool thing to whiz around on. But at this moment in time, I'm just using these space capsules, and it just makes me feel a little bit hollow. So I know that we have these space capsules because early game we need to get around, and that's all that we have. But, you know, I just feel like the designs of the spaceships, you know, the amount of fuel that we use, it should be kind of proportioned back to the cost of using a space capsule. Like, they exist in the same universe, so... Because at the moment, I feel like I'm just going to use space capsules, and I feel like that's just such a shame. I'm missing out on the spacecrafts. Not in the future, because I'll have the fueling setups, but just for this moment. And it's a little bit hollow that that ship is all the way stranded over there in no man's land, and I can't use it. Anyway, that's the first grumble. The second grumble is related to stack sizes. Now, I'm enjoying the challenge set by messing around with the stack sizes in the way that we are in these sets of mods. I'm enjoying that challenge, or at least I was enjoying it until I realised, you know, I think I went through this in the last episode, or the episode before. You know, I realised that, you know, putting this stuff on a train is completely pointless. We're not going to get any sort of throughput if we put any of these small stack size objects on a train. You know, the main objects that we have in vanilla, you know, the stone, the coal, the iron, and the copper, those stack sizes stay the same, and so the trains still feel relevant in my mind. But anything else, anything with a stack size of less than 50, it doesn't feel worthwhile putting on a train. And that makes me feel hollow as well, because I really like the trains. I really like putting stuff on a train. But, you know, ultimately, if I'm setting up some mines somewhere on a patch of ore, and I want to route 2 conveyor belts to it, say, then it's going to take about the same amount of time to route those 2 conveyor belts to it as it is to route 2 railway lines. Like, the only reason to kind of use railway lines is because they give you the benefit for higher throughput with that 50 stack size. But once you start messing around with that 50 stack size, then it becomes, well, why wouldn't you just set up conveyor belts, like, and just not use the trains? I mean, obviously you can use the trains for those main 4 ingredients, and that's what I was going to do it on this base, but I happen to have those 4 main ingredients very, very close to the part of the factory that was producing it. Like, this is the stuff this is the part of the factory which is requiring the those elements: the coal, the stone, the iron, and the copper. And I've got 4 mines here which deliver those. So I didn't really feel like it was worthwhile delivering those with trains. But I've got the trains set up, so if I ever need them, I've got them. But there's the other parts of the factory that I've got for Vitamelange, which has a stack size of 20. I've done it all with conveyor belts, and I'm going to be doing it all with conveyor belts going forward now. I think it's just completely pointless putting it on trains. And that's really what gets me down, because, you know, in vanilla, it felt like the balance of the stack sizes between what you can use in a stack and what you can get on a train was very, very finely balanced. It wasn't too far one way or the other. Like, you could make a case for both ways. And I've tried, you know, investigating where that limit is. So I'm kind of aware of this problem. But, you know, in the back of my mind, I feel like it's been designed to be a bottleneck. All of these stack sizes are designed to frustrate you when you use trains to transport them. Like, if that's the world that if that's what the experience that you've had with SpaceX Factorio is trying to put all of this stuff on trains, I'm imagining that would have been a very, very frustrating experience. And I'm not entirely sure if other people have come to this same conclusion. I'm not entirely sure whether people have tried out trains and gone, no, it's not worthwhile, I'm going to route it all with conveyor belts, or whether they've tried it out with trains and their solution was to just add more and more and more trains. Because, you know, the calculation that I did on that last episode with how many trains versus the 2 conveyor belts didn't make any sense to do it with trains. So, yeah, I'm now in a place where I'm building all these railway lines, and I'm probably not going to be using them because, you know, those 4 main elements, they're just miscellaneous processes in the corner of the factory. They're not main processes, so they don't really need all that much throughput. You know, the main ingredients, the main reason why this factory exists, the Vitamelange, all of that's going to be coming on a conveyor belt. So that's my 2 grumbles, and the reason why this is kind of related to the vulcanite issue is because I've just been back to Beryl, which is where I'm making the vulcanite. And that was the first base that I set up, and I just did it with trains just because that was the way that I approach all of these things from the beginning. My default is trains, and then if it's a problem, well, I've never had this problem before, so I've never really experienced this sort of issue. So I've been back to Beryl, and I've completely removed all of the trains. I've I've removed all of the mines. I mean, they were depleting a lot. Some of the patches completely disappeared, and my production on vulcanite was very, very low, so it needed an upgrade as well, and I just decided to completely remove the trains from the equation, because putting it on a conveyor belt has the stack sizes are irrelevant. They're just completely, they don't play any part. As long as I don't have to put the stuff in a box, then it doesn't matter. The stack sizes are irrelevant. So yeah, those are my 2 grumbles. Spaceships, which probably not going to use I don't really see how I'm going to use them all that much until I've got proper factory set up to deal with it, and trains, which from now on, I mean, this might be probably one of the last bases we deal with, but yeah, trains are not going to be using them all that much, which is sad. which is sad. And I have been kind of trying to think of the solutions of how we could fix this issue, because it's actually really difficult, because I think the stack sizes are being used to represent weight, and so by having these stack sizes, it represents that they're heavier or more dense materials, and we get less of it on a train. So I don't know whether is that the intention behind the mods? Is the intention behind the mods to make trains less relevant? I don't know. Anyway, those are the two gripes that I have. Going forward on this factory, right, let's go back, let's get to the game. Now, I feel a little bit like I've cheated a little bit on this base, because it occurred to me quite some time ago, if I'm being honest, that when I went in here and clicked on this view surface button for a new planet that I hadn't been to, that was the moment where it generated the surface of that planet and all of the biters' nests. And this happened on Maliga, which is where I'm making the cryonite. So I checked out the base before I went there. I surveyed it, saw what I had to deal with, and then I went away, prepared for it, came back, I don't know, 20, 30 hours later, and the biters' nest has just exploded everywhere. They were just a complete nightmare trying to settle a base on that planet. And to be honest, ever since, that planet has been a complete nightmare, eating away my perimeter wall. So I came to the conclusion, I'm not going to click on this view surface button for any new planets until I'm ready to go to that planet. Now, it didn't really apply to any of the other planets I've been to from that point, because I haven't been to any other planets where there have been biters. But Vitamelange, this planet that we're about to talk about, which is called Dura in my world, I did not view the surface. I left it right till the last moment. So when I landed here for the first time, there weren't really all that many biters. I mean, if we have a look at the map, the density of the biters is pretty minimal. Really minimal. And I've been able to reserve myself, call dibs on an almost entire quadrant of this map, which was really nice. Really nice. And it wasn't all that much work as well. I mean, the thing that probably helped was that I got myself a fancy new tank, and I've upgraded it with a whole load of gadgets and gizmos. So, what have I got on here? A couple of lasers. Oh, damn. A couple of lasers, a couple of defense, a couple of shields, a lot of fusion. So this thing has been becoming valuable. It's just been wiping out the biters. And I've upgraded my armor. I've got a specific kind of fighting armor in here now. And I've got like battle robots, and anyway. So the point I'm getting at, I feel like either I've cheated a little bit to get this corner of this planet all to myself, or I've just been a little bit smart. I don't know. You decide. But for whatever reason, it's been a whole easier affair. It's been much easier settling on this planet than it has been on that other one where I'd set up the cryonite. In terms of the factory itself, what we have first up is this is the block of the factory that's going to deal with, I guess we get the things called the spice and the extract. Now, by the numbers, my notional 60 SPM target that I'm trying to get on my platform, I think I will need about 8 of these blocks, 8 of them. The Vitamelange is just ridiculous, just crazy, and I'm obviously not going to build 8 of these things. I mean, that would have other demands, all of the ingredients that these things require. I'd need more of them. Like the next block down that I've got, which is standard, I suppose, on all of my factories, got the oil. So I mean, this is built to kind of feed. I think it was 2 of the blocks. I think I've built it. Maybe I might have done it for 4. I think it might have done it for 4 just in case. But if I was to go for that full 8, I'd need like double this. I suppose I could upgrade it with speed modules, but I think I might need some speed modules to get it to the point where it can do those 4 blocks. Anyway, if I decide to do 4 blocks, because I'm not certain on that fact. Moving our way around, so we've got that block that I was talking about earlier. This is dealing with the iron, the copper, the coal, and the stone, and ammunition, because we need ammunition for our perimeter wall. We're also dealing with the sand down here as well. So this is turning that sand into hydrogen chloride, and that hydrogen chloride is being shipped off to somewhere else to be made into rocket fuel. And then we move up again, and we've got nitric acids. I think this is lithium chloride, which is what I need for one of the further processes. And then oxygen and hydrogen from water separation. So I need a lot of hydrogen for this for nitric acid. And then as we move our way up, we've got another block which exactly the same as the other block, the first block we looked at. This is making the same stuff, the extract and the spice. Yeah, I need to get this going really. This vulcanite issue is annoying me. Where are we with our production? Come on, autosave. Oh, we were in the... Here we are. We're about halfway to a rocket. That's not too bad. Okay. So from here, I'm just going to wait for that rocket to arrive. It's going to get here at some point. And then I'm going to just carry on building. I've got a whole lot of other stuff to build. This is just dealing with those first two things, the extract and the spice. And we've got 3 or 4 things we need to do. We need to buy a scrubber, reagent, epoxy, biomass, experimental biomass, significant biomass. All of these things we need. I don't think any of them are as significant as the things that we have, but they are hungry for the stuff that we are making here. Yeah. And by the way, that 8 blocks is with it fully modded with modules. That's not just, you know, standard. That's this block that I've built here with all the modules on it. It's just a monster. Anyway, better crack on because there's lots more to do. Alright, 3 more sciences, more or less laid down. One is definitely laid down, yet the other 2 not so much. And energy science, energy pack science, pack 4, thingamajig. I need some other kind of science probe, space, star probe, I don't know what it is. Same again with the astronomical science pack 4. We need a probe for that one, so I'm not really in a place where I want to start attacking those things yet. So, and I don't really need it. Energy pack 4, so I'm just going to leave it there. It's okay for the time being. Then we got Vita Biological Science Pack 1, done, working, fine, happy. And then Biological Science Pack 2, set up. And my plan was just to carry on, but the whole Vita Biological Science Packs, they were just a complete bitch. Just horrible. You know, before I came up here, I had a set of ingredients that I thought I was going to have to bring up here. That's what I'd set up on Dura, where all this stuff is coming from. And I've already had to add fertilizer, biomatter, and lithium chloride. And now I need to add, vitalic acid, the liquid stuff. And that's kind of sent me into spirit. It was there. It's in here. It's here. I just didn't spot it. And so now I'm kind of like, do I bring vitalic acid? You know, I'm bringing up and the biomatter. Do I just... Where is it? Here we are. What would I need to make it? Vitalic. Is this thing over here somewhere? Here we are. I've got this already, the extract, so I could either bring up nitric acid or I could bring up the agent, the acid itself. Now, the reason why it's a decision is because if I bring up nitric acid, then I can bring it up from novice as well as Dura. Whereas if I just did the acid, then it can only come from Dura. So I could kind of use the acid that's on novice as well. So I think that's kind of where I'm going at the moment. But there's a whole more systems that I need to add in, and it's kind of come as a bit of a shock to the system to me. That's probably why there's a bit of an abrupt cut at the end of that time lapse, is because I was expecting to go out more things. So I was expecting to fill this up with materials. And this whole thing has kind of sent me into a bit of a wobbly. Because I was really hoping, if you're watching this in some kind of nebulous point in the future, then it's probably not relevant. But right now, today, it's the 23rd of September 2024, and we've got 4 weeks until Space Age, until the DLC comes out. And for someone like myself, plays a lot of Factorio, this has been coming for, I'm pretty sure, since before COVID. It's got to be 2019. It's got to be at least 5 years that this thing's been in development. And so in terms of this factory, I've been pushing really, really, really hard to get this done. And I'm just slowly coming to the conclusion. I'm not sure whether I'm going to. And this isn't just because of these biological science packs. You know, if I've been keeping an eye on novice. You know, novice is always one that I just feel like it needs a certain amount of attention. Oh, it's not even in this list. Oh no, we're here. And I got problems on novice. I got problems with power. No, not at this moment in time, but I've come here several times and we haven't had enough power. And that means that I'm going to have to come and do my favourite job in the whole wide world, which is to come and lay down a whole load of new solar panels and accumulators. Now, it's not my favourite job in the world because I just, you know, if I've got like a moment of solitude, I don't really want to come and have a look at a bunch of solar panels. There's nothing happening. Whereas, as I was just here, you know, the camera was here. That's because sometime in the recent past I've been bored and I've been like, oh, just come and have a look at my nuclear power, just make sure it's doing its job. I quite like the nuclear power. It's a thing. It does a thing, and it's got demands. You know, a solar panel just feels. But we need more of them. We need more power, and you know, not just power as well. We need a whole lot of other things. We're severely deficient on copper. And we need some more iron. We need all of these mines are just, they're dead. Most of them are dead. Like, the factory is more or less coping on the core seam fragments alone, really. If we have a look at copper, this is what I'm producing copper-wise. So I need to put some time into novice, as a matter of urgency, to be honest, because this is going to hold everything up. So I'm just thinking now whether I'm going to actually be able to finish. I'm really worried I'm not going to be able to finish because I do not like leaving unfinished projects. Like, really, really hate it. Absolutely. During COVID, I went down my workshop and I started making a thing. Now, this is a different thing from the thing that I've talked about before. Now, I've made a racing chair coffee table, which I've talked about before. This is a different thing. And I spent 2 or 3 months making it, and then I lost the will to live. You know, when you're making something, I was going down the workshop every day. There were some days where I could only go down there for an hour or 2 at a time. Like, I was just so tired, like physically, going and doing something like that every day on your own, lifting and moving heavy materials and tools. It's a drain on the body. And I would wake up some days just dreading going down there. I could go down there for an hour or 2 and I'd have to come back again. I mean, I don't mind that so much because I always feel like I've got something done that day. But over time, doing it every day, it just takes the fun out of it. And the workshop for me is a place of fun. And much the same, you know, same as Factorio. And I've been pushing myself really, really hard these last month or so. I don't know. And I feel like I need just to take a step back. Not this is just not spend as much time in the game. Try and do other things maybe. So anyway, that's kind of where my mind is. I'm still going to push. I still want to finish. And come what may, I will finish. That piece of furniture downstairs, I will do that one day. It will get finished. It's a thing I've wanted since I was a child, so it's not something I'm going to just leave behind. But it does sit in it physically sits in my front room looking at me every day. Every time I go down and have breakfast and make my coffee in the morning, it sits there and looks at me. And in the back of my mind, the same thing's going to happen with this factory. So I need to come up with some kind of a plan, because the plan was just to hit the DLC for months and months and months and not do anything else. So I need to figure out a way of sliding this in. So, yeah. Anyway, that's where my mind is at. It's all a jumble at the moment, and it's all caused by this vitalic acid stuff. Anyway, we're going to call it a day here for the episode. Hopefully, we've got 4 weeks. We should definitely get at least one more episode. And it's really about how far we get in that episode. Who knows? We will see. But for today, that's it. I hope it's been good. Till next time.